Hey peeps, this is Tripl-L, and now let's talk Shokugeki no Soma or Food Wars Chapter 195. Now this chapter is actually a pretty nice chapter. I very much enjoyed it. It gives a lot of clarification into the guys' life back when they were kids. Jochiro, Gin, and good old Azami. And you know, it's a fun time. I like this chapter. It's probably... Yeah, you know what? I thoroughly enjoy it. In the recent chapters of Shokugeki no Soma, this one might be one of my favorite ones because this chapter presents us with a backstory and it leaves it open enough that we can try and piece together what exactly is going through Saiba's mind. And so I like that. I like the freedom that this chapter is giving us. Now in this chapter we start off with the clarification from Gin that the reason Saiba wasn't at the top was because he just didn't have the behaviors worthy of someone who had to be at this point of responsibility. And so that particular instance actually makes me wonder, what if Rindo is actually the best cook and it's just because her behavior is so erratic that she isn't number one? What if like the first seat is really just a technicality and she's actually the best cook there? That would be very interesting, and that would be a cool little, I guess, way of sneaking around. It would definitely be a nice surprise. Now the chapter, it pretty much gives us a picture of these guys' life back in the day, and what it really shows is the relationship that these three had. And it's mostly that they came to this conclusion that Saiba was a peerless genius and they'd be okay if it meant following them. They didn't mind following him because he was that awesome. And for Gin in particular, he talks about how his name was meaning silver and how people made fun of him that he would always be second place. And when it came to Saiba, he was okay being second place if it meant learning alongside him. And that's really just friendship at its finest. That's really just realizing that, you know, you have someone in your life who is that awesome that you want to just be around. And so that aspect of the chapter, the relationship between the three, it's a nice aspect. It was also cool to see how they first got into the Elite 10 and how Saiba was just always going around and competing in various competitions. Now, the big thing that happens in the middle of the chapter is that we see that maybe Jochiro wasn't feeling great when those people were asking him what his next big dish was going to be. Everyone's going pretty crazy about it, like what is the actual thing that's going on? What is he actually thinking? Is it something that he doesn't like being pressured into having to do better? Is it that he just wants people to enjoy his food and not just be looking for what he's going to do next? You know, what exactly is happening? And now we have to wonder, is this where his cooking becomes very violent, very brutal? Because we know that Fumio does make the observation when he came back during Soma's time that Saiba had learned to cook with kindness. And so the big question is, was he cooking with kindness before this instance, this event happened in this chapter, or has he always just been cooking very violently? Because it doesn't look like he was a violent cook before that. It looks like that event was one of the things that triggered him, and maybe that's even when he started making the weird dishes or the gross dishes. Because what we get told from Gin is that he had eccentricities like the strange combination cooking, but that's one of the things that kept him from being first seat. The timeline actually isn't established very well on when exactly he started making these weird dishes, so I'm a bit curious about that. I'm a bit curious. Regardless, it was cool to see that Gin and Azami were able to notice what exactly triggered Saiba, or were able to notice that something triggered in him and he changed, or he was starting to change. And now it's going to be very interesting to see where exactly did Azami see Saiba changing. Was it further after this point? What exactly did he attribute to the failure of Saiba? So I'm very interested. This chapter only gives us enough to start speculating on what exactly caused him to change at this point. But it'll be very interesting to see the full story as we go along. Now, talking back to Soma, because we have to remember this. Toshiro said that Soma is a person who, when he fails, he doesn't give up. And he just keeps going, and that's something that not many people have. And most likely, I'm pretty sure Toshiro admitted to it as well, but Jochiro doesn't have that kind of sense. So most likely he hit that kind of wall and he didn't have the strength like Soma to keep going. So it's going to be very interesting to see when that actual moment happens. And I do want to see to what degree was Jochiro emotionally affected by the things that were going on. That's something that I'm very much looking forward to. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. It's a pretty simple chapter. Otherwise, it's just cool to see the Polar Star dorm when it was entering its golden age. And yeah, overall, I really loved this chapter. And let me know what you thought. Did you like this chapter? Are you enjoying the flashback? But anyway, till next time, I hope you have a great day.